Welcome to the Grinderslive lineup HQ crunch time pre-lock Super Bowl Showdown show. I don't know. Can I even say those words? Are we going to get sued? This is the show. We're going over the showdown for the big game. There's some game happening tonight. I don't know what it's called. I know what it's called. I can't tell you what it's called, but it is the big game. And I'm here, Jordan Cooper, aka Blender HD, alongside Tyler Tamboline Tambo, who's sweating golf right now while we're doing this show. Tambo, do you have Jordan Spieth?
No, I don't have any Jordan Spieth, and he's falling apart on Sunday. We talked about the fade on last night's Sunday round 4 show. I'm playing a little bit of James Hahn, who's doing his best to disappoint at late, but he's definitely started off strong. So I'm happy with that. That's the sweat. And yeah, big game. As you said, the extravaganza was the one word you missed from the title drop, but that's what we've got here, Jordan, and a lot of different ways to go about it, I think, and a lot of ways that we think people are probably going to go about it. So that's sort of what we're here to discuss and talk about other ways we can get different to take these big, large field tournaments down.
Right. And if you're in the YouTube chat, how you doing, folks? Hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit whatever you want. Hit lineup HQ. We got that up on the screen right now. Going over the showdown slate. We talk primarily about DraftKings because it's a little bit more complex game than FanDuel. FanDuel, the non-salary multiplier for the MVP slot, makes it a little bit in 5 slots. It's a little bit less of a game. But on DraftKings, looking at this, we typically get on basically for Chiefs showdown type slates, the main question and the most popular builds are most likely going to be either Mahomes, Kelsey, or Hill in the captain spot. The question comes in, we have really large field stuff. I think the Millie contest is 650,000 entries. Tambo, first off, do you believe that there is a Mahomes captain, Kelsey captain, or Hill captain lineup that will win solo?
It's going to be tough to win solo. Like you said, that's really the challenge here. Even there's enough people out there building 150 lineups for this that are going to do the sort of same idea or theories as we're going to go through here. And still it's going to be tough to get away from it. I don't know. I would think it would be better if you had like a Godwin captain or an Evans captain or something like that. Or maybe, one of those guys without their quarterback. We've seen take down some larger slate stuff in games like this, but there's a lot of ways you can go about it too, Jordan. I think the other thing is we've got a big total here for this game. And, everything you read, see, look at, watch, review, anything is talking about this is just going to be an onslaught of points both ways. I'm not so convinced. Personally, I think we could definitely still see an under here. And so I think that makes for some unique lineups as well. And then, of course, just leaving as much on the table as you feel comfortable with. We'll look at some options here when you go through it on your side to see what that looks like. If we can build some lineups that are sort of looking unique enough, still makes sense to how a game could play out here. And, maybe even be unique. Just like you said, it's going to be so tough to be unique. What are your thoughts on it when it comes down to that?
Well, I'm not sure if one of the Chiefs studs captains, there'll be a unique lineup. It would have to be something where you're leaving 7,000 on the table and playing Tyler Johnson, 2 scrub guys, and one just happens to go for 90 and 2 or something, maybe like that. But look, you mentioned the total 57. Typically on showdown slates, the higher the total, the more correlative lineups tend to do well because the points relate to one another. On lower total games, that's when you get non-correlative kind of messes where it's where you get the wide receiver with no quarterback, you get the kicker captains, you get the neither quarterbacks in the lineup, or the losing quarterback but not the winning quarterback, and then 2 of the wide receivers from the winning team, and that's fine because less points are being scored, which means less points are correlated to one another. Now, you talk about the under. I mean, it's a 57 total. So even if it hits an under of 48, that's most likely going to be a more correlative lineup anyway. When I'm talking about low total games, I'm talking about 14 to 10, right? I'm talking about 10 to 7, those types of games, or field goal fests where it's it's 19-16 and it's mostly field goals on both sides and there's only one touchdown. Yes, that is the less probable outcome for this type of game, but obviously you can build lineups that benefit from that type of outcome, and it's going to be way less owned, those combinations,
Right.
than the ones where, yeah, you can put Kelsey in the captain, you put Mahomes in the flex, right? Maybe you play Rob Gronkowski or Ronald Jones as your punt play. You shove in Brady and one of the Bucks receivers, and there you go. Well, welcome to your cash game lineup. Like welcome to the chalk construction. So what I like doing, like we show on these shows, is I'm using the blitz projections as of 3:11. We don't have inactives in until 5:05. But we're expecting Brown is expected to play, Braid is expected to play, Watkins is expected to play, right? We're not as far as we know, like everyone that's projected is in, right? Am I missing something there?
No, that's correct. Like you said, well, we do have to wait for the official news, but as far as everything that's come out as far as news so far is they're all expected to suit up. What that means, who knows, but they should be good to go. It's the Super Bowl, one game left for them, one show left for us. I would expect them to be in the mix so we can play them. It's no problem.
Okay, so I ran 50. Normally I'd run more than this, but 50 because it takes time to run for the sake of the show. So I'm showing like the optimal right now has basically a 3-3. Brady and captain, Jones, Godwin, with Mahomes, Hill, and Demarcus Robinson, which is never a fun roster, right? As the most exposed captain, we're just getting based on the blitz projections. It's a lot of quarterback captains.
Yeah.
Brady, Mahomes. But remember, this is for playing for median. So, like, I can understand in a cash lineup on DraftKings having one of the quarterbacks in your captain spot. Because we look at the top 50 lineups. Number one is 114.22, and the bottom is 109.62. But most likely, like the variance of these lineups is going to be smaller. It's going to be narrower range of outcomes. So, obviously, if a quarterback is going to be the winning captain, most likely you're going to be rostering two or more of their pass catchers with him in a higher scoring game. So, in order to reflect that, this is what you could do in Lineup HQ, which is premium. So, if you want to click on the link in the description, you get $10 off your first month for premium. NBA, you get a single sport. NBA, MLB is coming up. The combo package, you get PGA with that. But what I want to do now is anytime that I'm going to make a lineup with Brady, I'm just going to include like everyone in here from all the pass catchers. So we're talking about Godwin, we're talking about Brown, we're talking about Evans, Brait and Gronkowski. We got Scotty Miller, right? Got Tyler Johnson. I guess we could throw in Fournette because he does catch passes, right? Right? Anyone else that we're missing?
Well, if you want to, you could say the same though and put Ronald Jones in there, and then we could also separate them out if you want to make sure it's not Fournette and Jones in the same lineup in a separate group. But in this group, you could use him still because he could catch a pass or two.
Okay, so we'll throw him in as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ronald Jones. Okay, so what we're doing here, I'm using at least 2 to 3, right? I guess 2 to 4, right? Because we can make onslaughts, right?
Yep.
So like this. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing on the Mahomes side. So who are we adding? We're adding Tyreek Hill. We're adding Kelsey. We're adding Watkins. We're adding Robinson. We're adding Hardman. We're adding Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We're adding Darrell Williams. Is Le'Veon Bell going to play? I don't think he's projected low anyway, but whatever. You never know. Who else do we have on the Chiefs? Byron Pringle. Is it going to matter at that point?
Probably
do
not.
Something like this. Is there anyone else?
Yep. Not that I can think of, no. Unless
we put Kaiser, Sherman, those guys in. I guess.
Yeah, our guy Eric Johnson is back. If you remember the Yeldon conversation last time we were on, he's back and he's saying
we have Dion Yelder. We got Yelder, so let's put in Yelder for the Yeldon, right? Just in case. Yelder. You never know. He projects for nothing, so
it's probably not going to show up either way. So exactly, yeah, that's
right.
Fine.
Okay, so at least I'm going to do this. So since we're getting so many of quarterback captain lineups, I at least want to force the correlation in. And now I want to take a look at what the top 50 is. Okay, so we're going to 50. And now you're getting Brady. So we're now at 114.22, just like we had before. Brady, Jones, Godwin.
Yeah, okay? Same lineup because 2 to 4 is on.
Right. It's the same exact thing. So captain-wise, We're still getting tons of Brady and some Mahomes, but now we're starting to get Ronald Jones, Tyreek Hill, Godwin, Robinson captains, Watkins captains. What do you, I think? I just wanted to ask you because I think it's a very, very good point that Brandon Adams brought up on the Advanced Sports Analytics show that we did, the special that we did for the Super Bowl or the big game. I don't know. Can we call it the Super Bowl? Who knows? Our YouTube channel is gone tomorrow. It's all my fault. Is that if you're going to play a cheap captain, like if you're going to try for a Ronald Jones captain or a Gronk captain, those types of lineups, and then jam in all your salary, the likelihood of that being duplicated is going to be extremely high because it allows you to, like, why wouldn't you play Ronald Jones in the captain, and then you could play Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, Brady. I mean, you could play Godwin. You could play anyone you want at that point. Yeah. But, like, it may look like, oh, this is a sneak. Even though Ronald Jones may be only 3% owned in the captain, out of those 3% of 600,000 entries, we're still talking about 18,000 entries, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And out of those 18,000 entries, you don't think people are just jamming in all the points from there? So, like, that lineup with the Ronald Jones captain could end up being in that contest, like, literally like 3,000. There could be 3,000 duplicates because you now have the salary to, you know, who's going to build the lineup less likely to, oh, instead of Tyreek Hill, I'm going to play DeMarcus Robinson in that spot and leave 8,000 on the table. Like, that would be the way to get unique. So I am not playing cheap guys in the captain spot in the large field GPP just due to duplication reasons. Because if we see, like, even if we use the sidebar optimizer right here, the lineup preview, I'm going to go in, I'm going to lock Ronald Jones in the captain spot. So,
yeah, you already said it out loud, but this is a cash build.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. But look, you could play Mahomes, Brady, Kelsey, Hill, Gronkowski.
That's the nut cash lineup. And again, it's like you said, I would never play that in a large field because it's pointless. It's going to be owned by everybody. It's basically Ronald Jones does anything and you win. That's it. Like it's, you know, pretty much in cash. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying that's where that fits. I'm with you on that and not using it. I mean, I'm just, you know, going ahead of the game here now with what you were just talking about, but I'm not using quarterback at captain and I'm not using Ronald Jones at captain. And then the next discussion piece for me is like, do you use both quarterbacks in the flex? Because even that is going to be a challenge where, you know, you're going to be tough to get unique still, I think. And I think that's what everyone wants to jam in and just expect. That's where I think you can get a little bit different, separating, don't use any Mahomes or Brady at captain, and then separate Mahomes and Brady in the flex. That to me, it would be like a way to just get things started, at least give yourself a chance to get unique. And then you could start filtering in other things like stacks, leaving money on the table, defense versus position, like whatever else you want to do to get yourself a little bit different. But for me, that's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on that, Blender?
No, I mean, that's most likely going to be my approach also. So I went in, I X'd out Ronald Jones at captain. I X'd out both quarterbacks at captain. Okay. If we take a look, and I also put a group of Brady Mahomes together, no more max one. Yeah. But if we take a look at Eric Beimfor's columns, he has 2 for Slate IQ this week. He shows a lot of 4-2 as the leverage, and the top performing captains compared to their ownership are pass catchers. Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Quarterback still comes up high. Running back, you know, there's still enough there. But like all these cheapies, kicker, defense, running back 2, wide receiver 3, are virtually nothing. And the positive leverage is in the wide receiver slots. So it goes along that on most showdown slates, the quarterbacks are over-owned in the captain. And while Ronald Jones is running back 2 for the Buccaneers based on price.
Yes.
Like this line, if that lineup hits, like I can't see it being profitable because of what I mentioned before, that it's going to be it's going to win and just you're not going to win $1 million. You're going to win like 3,500 because it's split like 7,000 ways. So I went into
one point real quick, because the chat's asking about it. I've talked to Eric about this before. I believe we've mentioned it in the past. Is what WR2, and that means the second priced wide receiver, not who you want to make up and say, well, I think this guy would be considered the wide receiver 2. He's literally going off of the facts. Who is the second priced wide receiver on the slate on their team. That's how that works
Right.
out.
Right. You can't say, well, Kelsey's technically the wide. No,
Right.
Kelsey's the
That's all I'm
tight end.
saying. Yeah.
The
Just so people know
archetype of
that.
the game that's being analyzed is with a tight end that's like Kelsey. So like,
Yes.
so everything relates to price. So when it says wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, that's all. That's all in relation to price. That's all. That's all it knows. Running back 1, running back 2, same exact thing. So I went in and I X'd out what you said. X out quarterback captains, Ronald Jones captains. Separate the quarterbacks. So now I'm going to run 50. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, the first one, okay, Godwin. Okay, this is a 4. This is a unique 4-2. I mean, I don't think it'll be unique, but I'm just saying it doesn't have Mahomes. It's 108. So we're still decent range. We're only giving up 5.5 points of projection, which for large field is nothing in Showdown. Godwin and the captain.
What was the ownership? Go back to the quote unquote optimal 240. Like we're 245 here. What was it in the other?
243.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I wanted to see that just to start. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right. So still, it's a heavily owned lineup. Godwin and the captain, Gronk, Jones, Brady, then Hill and Kelsey without Mahomes. Right. If we take a look at that, because Brady projects better than Mahomes, he's in more lineups. So let's take a look at Mahomes lineups. Like to me, like these are the types of lineups that are more likely to be duplicated. These 4-2s, Mahomes and Hill and the captain, and then you have Gronk, Jones, Evans, Godwin, like something like this. So I'm looking at all positions. I'm looking at where is the lower owned. Like Demarcus Robinson seems to be LaMarcus Robinson, Rob Gronkowski, Harrison Butker, Sammy Watkins. It's just really hard to get ownership on these slates. I mean, like it's going to be very hard to not be duplicated in a large field.
What happens if we use just these same basic rules that we've had, but then swap it over to like a 200% max projected ownership?
Okay. Let's see if we could even get that.
That's what I want to see. Yeah. How it might not be bad, but what does it look like? We'll say instead of,
okay, I'm going to leave at least, I'm going to put my min down to 40,000. So
yeah,
leave it like that. So if we're going to use the blunt tool of the max total lineup ownership and build 50. Let's see. I mean, what the hell does this look like? Max 200. So the best one at 199 is Tyreek and the captain, Hardman in the flex, which is kind of a little negative correlation. Suckup, Brown, Godwin, Brady. Like this to me is a more unique lineup, even though, like, to me, having Tyreek Hill and the captain, like you're hoping for like a rushing touchdown, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have so Mahomes isn't in the optimal flex spot. But I mean, looking at this, and look, if you do that with the ownership, essentially it's giving you all the Brady. It's telling you do not play Patrick Mahomes. That's where you get the leverage. Is that smart? Who knows?
No, that's what we're trying to find out. But I guess the thing, that one at the top is a little bit interesting because there's not much to it. Like I said, it's a kicker in there. I'm okay with the rest of it. I just think if you look at the second lineup, this to me is still something. I'm not saying this will be unique, but it leaves 800 on the table. It's got Hill and Hardman with no Mahomes, and then it still keeps the pass catchers, all these wide receivers that we talked about, and fades the running game. Like there's something to that. I definitely don't think it'll be unique, but it gives, 50, almost 55% less owned than some of those other lineups we were looking at for just a 6-point projection decrease while still getting pretty unique and leaving a bunch of money on the table. So that would be more the types of lineups I'd be looking for as lineup number 2 there.
Right. But I mean, this, to me, it's an interesting idea to have Tyreek Hill in the captain spot without Mahomes, because much less people are going to do that, right? The default for a lot of sharper players, especially, is if there's a wide receiver in the captain, I play the quarterback in the flex. But there are instances where Tyreek Hill goes for 150 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and then Brady still has to throw for 400 yards, right? And actually is a better scoring quarterback than Mahomes, right? So you take a look, like take a look at the lineup. Like, let me take a look. Okay, here's one: Tyreek Hill, Butker, and Hardman, right? It has Evans and Brown in here or something. Like Brady could still throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and throw them all to Evans and Brown. Tyreek Hill has 3 touchdowns, but like Mahomes just doesn't make the lineup. because like Brady,
Yeah.
Brady ends up with like 32 points, and Mahomes has 29. So it's still a good, but you can't play both of them in the same lineup.
But that's why too I don't hate that, because like Hill and Hill and Hardman, even if you go up to lineup 2 again, those two could like if Hill's just a few targets but a short touchdown or an end around touchdown to him, and then Hardman's sort of the same thing, that those two could definitely take away from Mahomes in that sense, where it doesn't make Mahomes the quarterback that's necessary, and then Brady just goes off with all those pass catchers, and then that still has to be the way. And then they bring up another good point in the chat. We didn't even talk about this yet, but Kelsey is probably a pretty popular captain as well, I would imagine here. And we haven't seen him yet, though. So that makes me wonder, almost like last time when we were looking at it together, Blender, with the 3 running backs it was a more classic. It was a 3-game setup or whatever, a 4-game. And we were saying we're 3 running backs, including one in the flex, might not be as popular, but it wasn't showing in the projections. Now we're sort of seeing the same thing. Like Kelsey's not showing up in the captain slot. It tends to be Hill, or it wanted to be the quarterbacks, or Ronald Jones, which we've shut down.
But that's really only a difference of like, it looks like 0.3 in projection.
Yeah.
If I mean, because you're paying 600 more for just 0.3 extra. Like if we bumped Kelsey up by a half a point, we'd be seeing a lot more Kelsey over Hill. So it's just the dynamic of like 2 players like this, because you could pretty much only play one of them, or you could only pretty much play 2 of, the top, 10K or above types of players. But I took a look at this lineup over here. That could be, I mean, this is high risk type of lineup. Where is it? Where'd it go? Looking through. It's a 5-1 with Hill in the cap. Right, here you go. Hill in the captain by himself, and he's the only chief. Then you get Brady, Godwin, Brown, Gronkowski, and Suckup. Right? That goes along with the same type of story that I told with the Hardman lineup. But here, Brady throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Tyreek Hill goes off. And Mahomes still has a great game, but it's just not as good as Brady's.
That lineup just won. Remember during the season when it was Pittsburgh and Baltimore, it got extended like 4 times for COVID, and then they finally played it. It was Hollywood Brown in the captain with the last minute touchdown. He did nothing else the rest of the game. Pittsburgh smashed. It was 5 Steelers in the flex and Hollywood Brown at the very end of the game, and it ended up chopping up for $100,000 or something at the top, because again, nobody's going to play a lineup like that. So
okay, I am. Work. I'm playing 80 lineups, Tambo. I'm saving it. Okay. There you go. It's in my lineup. Don't dupe me, bro.
Everyone's duping us now that I said that, but I just wanted to point it out that it can definitely still happen, especially in a spot like that. And someone just brought it up in the chat about what if you fade Kelsey altogether. I think that's definitely a way to go because of his ownership. But I think if I was going to play a bunch of Kelsey, the way I think that could be an interesting way to go about it would be him and the captain, because he is just the PPR guy that just could get 9 catches for 110, maybe not even get in the box, and Tampa just has themselves a game here. It's way off the beaten path of what most people are doing, and anyone using Kelsey is very likely to have Mahomes in their lineup. So again, we're a guy that just racks up PPR points and could beat, a guy like Godwin or Evans in the captain slot, 9 for 150, no touchdown, and that's all he does. That doesn't mean Mahomes gets there. And that does mean that he probably could still score the most in that spot, depending on what the game looks like, in like a 24-21 type game that still has points, but doesn't quite hit the over or something. I think that would still be viable. So I like that setup as well, as just something to thinking off the top of my head here, going through it here.
Right. The thing on the Buccaneer side, it's tough to have a wide receiver captain because Brady tends to spread the ball around more, but that'll also like lower the ownership. I think like Antonio Brown with the Q tag, like I think his ownership goes down. I mean, probably rightfully so, but even like we take a look at the lineups that we built like this. I mean, we're getting so much Tyreek Hill in the captain, So now let's take a look as if we remove that. Okay. So since we're getting too much of that, let's just take a look. I'm not saying that you have to do it. So I'm going to X him out and now build 50 lines. I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of Godwin captain. We're going to see some Kelsey captain. Right? Yeah, Godwin, 54% captain. Kelsey, 36% captain. But we still get the Hill Hardman together. I'm not a big fan of playing them both together because typically they're running the same type of routes. Like one comes in for each other. So in lineup HQ, I'm gonna go Tyreek Hill. Let me put the captain back just so when we do put it back, he's still in there. Player groups, Tyreek Hill captain, Hardman, and Hardman captain. Even though I'm probably not getting much Hardman captain. Okay. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to get rid of Tyreek Hill's captain and then build another 50 so we don't get them together. And we're still getting them together. Why am I still, did I set the group right? Oh, no, because I don't have them in the group. So I got to do it that way. Okay, here's 50. Doesn't mean they can't both get there. I'm just saying that it's less likely. Right, but now we're getting Hardman with Kelsey, because that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Godwin and the captain. Antonio Brown, Brady.
Plugging in Robinson with it, though, that kind of, throws me. The thing about the Hill Hardman thing is, like I said, I don't actually hate it that much, because as much as you do, I guess, because the fact of, this has been talked about ad nauseum this week, but I think it's been understood by now. Hill is no longer, he's passed the torch to Hardman of the boomer bust guy for the Chiefs. He does a lot more. He's not just one play and it's over. He can do a lot in the run of a game. Whereas if you get the one boom play to Hardman and Hill just does his normal thing, the fact of having them both, that could still work. Also, one of them could get an end around in the end zone. We've seen them go off together. It's not like they can't. So I'd have a harder time here playing Hardman and Robinson, like this lineup at the top. I don't see it as much as I do the other one being capable, but I like the way we're looking at it here. I like the thought process of how can we get there and still be unique. So the other thing is too, Godwin, I'm not sure if this was just bias in Beimfor's article. It's not. I know he puts the data into it. I know he's a big Godwin fan, but it did have Godwin as the highest leverage captain. But what I'm seeing shake out, not just with projections, but conversations around the industry, people talking about it, is it seems like if anyone is going a Tampa Bay wide receiver, it is Godwin. And I tend to lean like Mike Evans could have himself a big game. Antonio Brown could bust out for the one Super Bowl game that ends up going down in their favor or something. So I kind of lean the other way there, even though the projection systems and the Slate IQ article says go Godwin. I again wonder if people do switch direction on the quarterbacks, the Kelseys, the Hills. It feels like the inclination is after the cheap guys, the first Tampa Bay Buccaneer they go is to Godwin. So, some of these Evans lineups and stuff might be a little bit more unique in that sense to still not get crazy and get off the board where people are saying you need all these random diamond in the rough plays. We know that's not always how these things are won. Sometimes it's as simple as an Antonio Brown or an Evans. And then what does the rest of your build and rules look like as we've gone through?
Right. So I'm gonna set the max total ownership now at like a little bit higher to 210. Because there could be combinations where you're still playing a low-owned guy and the combination is more unique. So so we're getting a lot more Godwin lineups. Still getting a ton of DeMarcus Robinson. We have DeMarcus Robinson as 4% projected owned. Do you think that's a little too low?
He's definitely the guy that I could say use over Hardman, because Hardman's the punt that everyone wants to go to for the boom bust. There's jokes that run around of, all these guys are rocking nice suits and stuff coming into the Super Bowl. So, confirmed 3 for 150 and 1, Ian Hartitz said on his Twitter about Hardman. I guess, the thought process is just imagine, if everyone's going to go to that, I don't want to necessarily be on that same island. I want to look for a way to get a little bit different. If Watkins is suiting up, as they say, and imagine he will when it comes out and the inactives are shown and he's good to go, but a guy like Watkins or DeMarcus Robinson should set you apart enough because nobody's really going there. And Robinson could definitely still be that boom play instead of Hardman. And then what if Watkins gets utilized? He is still a big body, a guy they could use in the red zone over a Kelsey or something like that. And who knows, or he could be a complete decoy. It's tough to say, but that's why I don't mind using them, because that ownership is going to bring it that way as well.
Right, because the main concern with these guys is that when Watkins is healthy, I mean, they're gonna line up with Hill, Kelsey, Watkins, and like Robinson comes in for Watkins and Hardman comes in for Hill. So like Robinson really benefits from like Watkins getting injured. I mean, they will get snaps, but at 1,400, like, I don't know. I'm not big on. To me, I'd rather rely on Hardman, but of course, Hardman is going to be way more. I mean, it's not way more. We have him projected for like 14% owned, so that's not out of hand.
It could get a little bump there. That's what I'm saying from what I've seen. I don't know. I'm with you. I just think that's where I was saying earlier when you had the previous set of lineups. I care more about separating Robinson and Hardman than I do Hill and Hardman, because again, I think the way the public perspective is always on Hill is that Tyreek Hill is this boom bust guy. We saw it since last season with John Brown for the Bills, and not so much this season. He was a little bit unhealthy, but when he was playing, everyone saw him as this boom bust guy, but he's actually someone that, pretty much made Josh Allen better. And I think that's the case for sure for Mahomes. He's looking for Tyreek Hill for a lot of short yardage and like just a lot of different plays. He's got a lot more Hill and Kelsey, which in the past has been extremely negatively correlated. But this season, even it was up to week 6 or something, I said, I still don't see it. It did start to come together a little bit more as the season went on. So it's tough to say. It's one game, one sample size here we're rolling with, but I think it's Robinson and Hardman together would be harder for me to see than Hill and Hardman. But like you said, if you think the ownership's 13%, as this says, we think it's going to be close to that. I don't hate it still. And someone mentioned in the chat, I knew this, but I guess that's another conversation, is Hardman obviously has a chance at a punt return as well. He's the kick returner, but
the double dip, we got to do the double dip guy, right?
Well,
we got to do
that's
the Hardman.
what I'm saying. That's why I said it's another conversation, because that's immediately what everybody goes to. So again, I was not against those Hardman Hill lineups. Just again, look at what the overall build looks like there and then put it together. It's however you want to use it. I think it's something that's a way you could go still. And I think Hill can be used in more ways than one here. I'm leaning more on Hill than I am on Kelsey, just because I think that's sort of the only thing that they can do is try and shut Kelsey down and make Hill work for them. But we'll see.
News has just come in. Antonio Brown and Cameron Brate are officially active.
Okay.
So we're good there already. It's going to be weird for me to say. I think that for me on Showdown, if you've been watching Showdown, I do on Monday nights with me and Keith or with Will or with Cards, I always say that the defenses are overowned. I always say that, the defenses, when they're 4,800, when they're too expensive, like, they're going to think it's a Thursday night game and it's the Browns versus garbage, like that. It's a 39 total. And so I got to play the defense, right? And it's like they're 5,600 and end up being 40% owned. Buccaneers defense is 2,800. Chiefs defense is 2,600. The only guys like underneath them are garbage. I mean, we have Ronald Jones. We got Demarcus Robinson, Pringle, Johnson, Bell, McCoy, Sherman, Seals Jones, if he's active, who knows? Like, there's not many guys underneath the defenses that could score double-digit points, most likely. And we have the Bucks at 11% projected owned, the Chiefs at 16% projected owned. Is it weird for me to say that I think the defenses are going under-owned?
No, not at all. I like it. I like one defense. I don't like them both, even if it is going to be a little bit more under-owned. But I think, one of the things that's not being talked about enough, and we do a lot of conversation around game theory and all this. Yes, just note to the chat and everybody out there, Sammy Watkins is active, but flipping it back for a second with these defenses is that KC already throws at like a 70% clip. So there's going to be opportunities as far as sacks are concerned. We know they're down the O-line. Like, all this should add up to let's get on the Bucks D, but because everyone's so set on this Chiefs -3 free money, there's no way they lose the Super Bowl. They're going to go off. They're going to win. Everyone just assumes you can't play the defense against that. So if both defenses could be under-owned, sure, I'm definitely more in on the Bucks defense, even if you do have Mahomes in the lineup. I don't care. I think that's definitely fine, but I'm with you there, and they are a little bit under-owned for what we're used to. Again, back to my original theory of everyone is just stacking up millions of points. We're going to have a 55-51 game here. This, today is what everyone's sort of expecting, or it sounds like. And I've seen this happen in college in the past. Alabama, LSU, 59-point total. This is going to be the national championship of the century. And then the game ends 10-9. I'm not saying this is going to be 10-9. I'm just saying you got to remember how these teams get here and what they had to do to get here. They had to beat out teams like Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and the Bills. These are great quarterbacks, tough defenses, ground and pound grind games. There could be some defense here for sure, Blender, and I don't hate that call at all.
Right, but what I like doing is that most likely I'm not going to play both defenses together. Right.
I would separate those for sure. That's what I was trying to say.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to do Chiefs and Bucks. I have to put the captains in also. So just in case.
While you're doing this, I want to comment because someone just brought this up in the chat. I'm not saying it's going to be right, but I'll tell you what, as far as fade the defense, play the kickers go, I was thinking about this too. And there's been a lot of at least Harrison Butker talk. And I'll say this, these are two teams that should go for it more than not. So when you're thinking these kickers are going to be great, back to Blender's point of what else is down there as far as value is concerned, Tampa Bay already just watched what Buffalo did. I think the best joke on that entirely, Blender, was that Tampa Bay brought a field goal kicker to a touchdown fight. You know, that was what happened there, or Buffalo Bills, sorry, brought it to the touchdown fight, and that didn't work out. So the Bucks know they've got to go for points. Why would they bring all these kickers in and try and just get points? It's not the way to beat the Chiefs. And likewise, the other way, the Chiefs have such a potent offense that it's not very likely they're going to want to kick a field goal unless they have to. So just keep that in mind when you're talking about all these kickers as ways to get different. I certainly think that's the opportunity there. Even if it goes under, it can be on touchdown still as 24-21, and you could still have maybe one field goal kick from either side. And that's sort of the way it breaks down. So I'm just saying something to look out for or think about as people are looking to get different in their lineups. I like the defense call. So go ahead. You've set it up here now. What are we doing?
Okay. Well, first off, Ricky Seals-Jones is inactive. So he's the only one in the projections that's going to be inactive, but he's projected for 0.06. It's not going to matter. Like Xing him out, look fine. I'll X him out. Just he's never showing up in anything. Okay, so I set up the defenses to not play together. And if I'm going to play more instead, because it may not come up in the top 50 lineups. So I'm going to bump them. I'm going to put a min of, I just want to see all defense lineups. So just do minimum 50 on each. So I just want to see, here are lineups that will have at least one defense. Obviously, I've separated them out so they both can appear. So just to take a look at what they look like, right? So I also have no two quarterbacks together, right? I have the group, not DeMarcus Robinson and Hardman together, not Hill and Hardman together. I left out.
I still like our groups. Like to your point there, that's my thing. Is I'm still with you on these groups. I'm not going to go away from them just because now I'm adding in defense. I think they still make sense.
Right. Okay, so
here we go.
Okay, okay. It's trying to jam in as much as possible, but it's not getting all of them.
Still not going to be optimal, it tells us.
Right, it's still not going to be. Okay, here we go with the first one. Hill, Chiefs, Robinson, Evans, Godwin, Brady. Okay. Your Chiefs, Butker, Hill, Fournette, Godwin, Brady. Yeah, essentially Kelsey, Hill, Robinson. Are we getting a lot? We're getting mostly still Tom Brady lineups and not Patrick Mahomes lineups. The Patrick Mahomes lineups look like this. They actually make more sense. Mahomes, Robinson, Hill, Buccaneers, Fournette, Godwin.
Hill, I like that
Robinson,
lineup.
Yeah, it's pretty
1,600 much on the table. Defense against Mahomes. 3-3 when lots are doing 4-2s and even 5-1s. I'm sure. I think that's a nice lineup there at the top for sure.
Or this one even right here. You're leaving what 3,400 on the table. You're playing Mahomes, Robinson, Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, and the captain, and Antonio Brown and Godwin. So
swap it to Kelsey and the captain and Hardman for Robinson with the double dip, and that's a nice one too.
Yeah, but most of these are the Mahomes lineups. Most of them are Brady lineups based on the blitz projections. So looking at these, Godwin, Brown, Fournette, Brady, Robinson, Hill, just a lot of Robinson. Is it because he's only 1,400 that we're getting a lot of them? I don't know. I don't want to yell about the numbers or anything.
Well, what's our Watkins projection for points and ownership, I should say?
Right. So for points, we have Watkins at 8.82.
Okay.
Projected own 18.8.
Because he was questionable. I know we all thought he was going to suit up. I just had wondered if there was any sliding it to, Robinson would be sort of the next man up possibility. So that's how I wanted to check that. But no, it looks good. So it's just the price, man. And it's, again, think about it too. It's, this, but it's for everybody out there. It's looking for how do we jam these guys at the top that are just projected to smash. So it's looking for any way possible to almost build what you'd call like a quote unquote stars and scrubs, if you will, for something like this, in the sense of like you talked about, but realistically, when you're counting on Robinson, Jones, guys like that at the bottom, and you could use a defense and go there. Take out Robinson. GZG makes a good point. Let's see what happens.
Just take him out. Right. Just take him out completely. Okay.
Yeah, good point.
Right. Oh, I don't want to play Rob. Okay, sure. Let's see what lineups look like without him. I'm also take him out of the captain spot. Right, because we're getting a lot of Robinson lineups. So I'll build 50. Take a look-see. Okay, so now we're getting the Watt. Now we're getting Watt. Now, I feel like this is better, right? Mm-hmm. Hill, Watkins. Hill and the captain with no Mahomes. Watkins. Then Gronkowski, Fournette, Godwin, Brady. I'm saving it. There's the winner. I'm putting that in my pool. I've already gotten 2 of 80 lineups done. But I prefer Watkins way more than a Robinson, even though Watkins is 4,200 and Robinson is 4,200.
Oh, yeah. I agree totally. And like I said, for that's what I'm saying. We'll see if he ends up just being a decoy or whatever, then so be it. But my point is more, he could be a guy that could take that slant in the end zone away from a guy like Kelsey, who's going to be much higher owned and utilized in those types of lineups. And you still don't have Mahomes or require him because it might just be a 10-yard slant that he sends across to a guy like Watkins. And that's more than enough at 4.2K.
Right, here's one with just Tyreek Hill right here. Evans and the captain, Buccaneers, Brown, Fournette, Brady. Why not? It could work. Okay, there you go. I got to win $1 million. I got to play lineups that look like, oh my God, why are you playing that? Only leaving 200 on the table.
Yeah. Kai Roach just said in the chat, we're using, these are going to be super duped. And we've looked at plenty, if you're just joining the show, that are not likely to be super duped, that leave a lot of money on the table. But I've talked about in the past, and I'll laugh at it forever. I don't care. If someone wants to just go out and build their $45,000 lineups and pray, that's okay. I get why you're doing it. I'm just saying, don't run around to me and victory lap that you've got 150 unique lineups and that's all that matters, because it's not, right? You still have to make some sense of it, and you still have to have some guys in there that can actually put up the points, and you're dead meat when one of these, spots go off that you have none of or something like that. So I'm all for, if you're not first, you're last, but at the same time, I'll take a 10-way, 20-way chop in $1 million tournament up top. No problem. So you don't have to get completely off the board to say that, just to run around and say you're unique. There's ways you can build these lineups, as we've showed across this entire show, that you can still be unique enough. And I'd say quite different. Like that Kelsey one there, I don't mind either.
Right, that's the same one from before. Like you were saying, well, you could just put Kelsey in the captain with no Mahomes. Like correlatively, it doesn't make sense, but you may get uniqueness out of it. I just want to highlight for the YouTube chat, like if you're playing like a 500-person contest, like you ain't playing these types of lineups. You're probably playing things that maybe are maybe unique amongst 500 entries, but amongst 650,000 entries. Like even this lineup, I'm going to heart this lineup. Like this lineup may still be duplicated 6 times. I mean, like this still may not be unique. So like I'm looking for like inside of 20. I mean, like if I'm chopping $1 million 20 ways, plus all the other places below it, and I could get like 60, 70,000. Okay. Now we're talking. I just don't want to chop like 700 ways.
Yeah, we showed the chalk. We showed the cash game lineup earlier to you. Like, we're not playing that. We literally took out, and we have no quarterback captains. We have no Ronald Jones captains. We're very limited on what we're doing and how our stacks are set up, and separations on guys that the optimizer does want to put together. Therefore, most people building for this will have those types of builds. So again, there's always chance that you can be duped, but it's, if you have the best lineup in this tournament and you're part of the $1 million chop, that's what you have to do. So I think we've looked at plenty of unique ways to set it up. And then there's lots of great ideas in the chat of how they can, mix it up, and some of the changes I saw them making and all of that. I love it, right? Get as many ways as you can to try and get unique, especially when you're hand building, and, don't be afraid to leave the money on the table and mix it up. There's our double dip lineup.
Double dip. I would know. I was like, this makes sense. Look, because we have Godwin, the captain, Brady throwing to him with Antonio Brown. You got Kelsey for PPR, and then you got the Chief, punt return touchdown right there. Done, winner, done. I need to do a lot more. I have 80 lineups to go. How many do I have? I have 6. It's going to take a while.
That lineup made sense, though. If you look at it, like I said, when you look at it from the perspective of what we already talked about with defense, Kelsey just being a PPR hog, he doesn't actually, just because Kelsey gets there doesn't mean Mahomes will, right? That's sort of the idea I was trying to say earlier. Even in the Hill lineup, or the Hill version of the captain with him with $5, that still makes sense, because he can have 9 for 150 and then just use them for 10-yard gains and chunks all game long. But Tampa Bay ends up winning the game, and it's because Brady spreads it around and gets there and gets 3 touchdowns. And that's just the way it can set up. All those guys just get 1 touchdown each for whatever small yardage. Kelsey still beats them in the captain based on 9 for 150 and 0, or whatever it might be. Maybe he gets a late touchdown that, again, doesn't boost Mahomes, but boosts him even that much more. And those lineups work. And very few people will have lineups like that, even in a 600,000 man tournament. It's just not common to have 1 guy from the other side and then 5 from the winning team in the flex with no captain. So I think that could work as well.
Right, but that's the balance you're looking to strike, of projection versus ownership versus uniqueness.
And great plays still. There is no Sherman's diamond in the rough type plays in that. It's all great plays. It's just setting it up differently than what the field will, to give yourself an opportunity to get up to the top. And it still left money on the table. It had all of the factors we're looking for when building these lineups and trying to get unique for these large field GPPs on a day like today with some pretty big prize pools up top.
Right. If you got any last minute questions, feel free to type them into the YouTube chat. hit that thumbs up button. The thummy thumbs. I even got my apple juice here, right? I got to bring out apple juice, and I normally in the pregame show. It's still the Kroger brand. I think we're getting brand name stuff coming in today. There's a Walmart delivery or whatever, so we'll get it. We'll get it in for tomorrow's show. But hit that thumbs up button to keep it cold for the Super Bowl. I don't know. My wife's making something. I think we're making little hot dog things, or I have no idea. I just eat whatever she's making. I'm eating for the Super Bowl. I don't know what you're doing. I'm not. It's not. There's no party. I have no friends. No one's gonna come over. It doesn't matter. Right.
You got to have chicken wings, man. That's what it's all about. I love chicken wings. And I can't go a Super Bowl without chicken wings. That's my go-to. So that's what I'm having. I know that. And then many other things, but yeah, definitely good. I think this was a great little way to do it, man. And round up the season. Appreciate all the support. Everybody here helping us out, coming and checking us out. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, keep sticking with us. I'm doing a lot of golf stuff. You guys know where to find me as well in the Discord, on Twitter, @ToeTag and Tambo. Take us away, Blender.
Yeah, and you can find me every morning, 11 o'clock a.m. for the DFS pregame show. We're in basketball mode now, but eventually, in April, MLB will come around. But Monday through Friday here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you know. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. So 11 o'clock in the morning, I'll be there tomorrow, right? And Tambo will be doing all the golf content for the premium people, especially. Hit the description and the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. You get all of this, all this lineup HQ, all the projections, all the everything, all the content. Go subscribe there. I'm in the Discord all the time. So for Tambo, this is the last NFL show of the season.
That's it, man.
For Rotogrinders.com.